What's up, guys? It's me Boxing, and today I'm going to be talking about the recent news we got in the bridgerweight division, which is that Oscar Rivas will be rematching Bryant Jennings for the vacant WBC bridgerweight world title. And this fight has been scheduled for June 18th in Montreal, Canada. And I'm not really too sure where the fight's going to be exactly, like an exact arena, stadium, etc. But I believe it's going to be broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or on the ESPN app in the United States and Canada. But Oscar Rivas, fighting out of Colombia, currently training and living in Canada, has a record of 27 wins, 1 defeat, and he's coming off a victory over an 8-5 opponent in February. And his opponent, Bryant Jennings, he holds a record of 24 wins with 4 defeats, and he's fighting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States. Both guys have fought for a form of the heavyweight world title, as Bryant Jennings lost to Vladimir Klitschko via unanimous decision for the unified world titles in 2015. And he also has a knockout loss to Luis Ortiz for the interim WBA heavyweight world title. But he has some good wins over Mike Perez and Alexander Dimitrenko. But he also has a loss to Oscar Rivas in their first fight in January of 2019, where he did lose by knockout in the 12th round. And I'll speak about that fight more often later on. But Oscar Rivas, he lost to Dillian Whyte via unanimous decision for the interim WBC heavyweight world title. And he also has a very good win against Bryant Jennings, as I said before. But that's really it for his major accomplishments as a pro. He has fought Dillian Whyte, and he has the win over Bryant Jennings. He doesn't really have any more notable wins, and the Dillian Whyte loss was his only defeat. But this fight, I could definitely see it being like the first fight. But, I'm still not sure who wins this one, because it's still a 50-50, because their first fight was so close on the scorecards. I believe I had Rivas ahead by like 1 point or so, but it was very, very close. It could have went either way at the time if it would have went to the scorecards. And I believe 2 of the judges might have had Jennings ahead by a few points, or it was Rivas ahead. I can't really remember, but it was very, very close. But then in that 12th round, Rivas was able to drop Jennings. Jennings got back up, but then got finished on the feet, and the referee had to stop the fight. And I believe that's the fight that set Oscar Rivas up for the interim title shot against Dillian Whyte in the UK. But Oscar Rivas didn't do too bad against Dillian Whyte. He was able to drop him, and the fight was relatively close on the scorecards. I believe I scored an 8-4 in favor of Dillian Whyte, which was 115-112. But Bryant Jennings, when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, he lost nearly every single round, and I was actually at that fight in the arena. And, he didn't look too good. He just didn't do anything, and so did Vladimir Klitschko. It was a very, very boring fight, but still, Vladimir Klitschko got the job done. But his fight versus Luis Ortiz was just a dominant performance for Ortiz, and Ortiz dropped him with a beautiful uppercut to finish the fight. And I believe that was also in like 2015 or 2016, around there. But, Bryant Jennings is getting older. I believe he's in his late 30s. He's still not one of the top heavyweights anymore. I believe he used to be a top 10 heavyweight back in 2015, 2016, around there. But now he's arguably top 20, top 30, around there. But Oscar Rivas now, he was a top 15 heavyweight after that Dillian Whyte loss and when he beat Bryant Jennings, but now he's currently ranked in bridgerweight. Boxer has taken him out of those heavyweight rankings, same with Bryant Jennings. But, the weird thing is Oscar Rivas, I believe he weighed in at like 240 or 239 for the Whyte fight, so it's just so odd that he dropped so much weight to be in this bridgerweight division. Maybe it was just that because he wanted to be a world champion, but the thing is with Bryant Jennings, he's always weighed in at 224, 225, around that weight his whole career, so I could definitely see why he decided to go down to bridgerweight. But this fight, I'm excited for it. It's basically like a heavyweight clash, a rematch, and it could be very well the same as their first outing. And I'm not really too sure if this is going to be a main event in June or if it's going to be a co-main, because usually Oscar Rivas fights on like the undercards of Artur Beterbiev, but Beterbiev is coming off that win over Adam Dynix. But as you can see on the right, the bridgerweight rankings sees Oscar Rivas number 1, Kevin Lorena number 2. He's a South African cruiserweight. Bryant Jennings number 3, and I'm calling these guys by their original weight classes because it just sort of paints a better picture to where or why they might be moving up into this weight. But as you can see, most of these guys are either young heavyweight prospects, except obviously Oscar Rivas, who's a top 15, arguably top 15 contender, and Bryant Jennings, who's basically a washed-up heavyweight. But most of these guys are cruiserweights who haven't really... they basically lost in their own division, and now they're just being placed in this bridgerweight division by the WBC. Because most of these guys, like Dmitry Kudryashov, he lost multiple times. Artur Spilka, blown up heavyweight, went down to cruiserweight, and still lost at heavyweight multiple times. Alan Babbage, he's a young heavyweight prospect. I believe he's 6-0 with 6 knockouts. Aliev, I believe he was in the cruiserweight division. Not too familiar with him. Bilal Lagoon, yeah, he has a few losses. Lukas Rozanski, I believe he beat Uzabi Ugono by knockout. So he's a heavyweight, but a very light heavyweight. But Marco Hook's also there. He's a former cruiserweight champion. Hasn't really fought at heavyweight at all. Basically, is a washed-up cruiserweight. Samuel Kaji, I've never heard of him ever. Rashid Kazoyev, never heard of him. Carlos Welsh, never heard of him as well. And Isaac Chamberlain, he has a loss at cruiserweight, and he's basically blown up cruiserweight going up to bridgerweight. So these rankings, I mean, this really paints the picture of why there shouldn't be a bridgerweight division, because you see these two guys who are basically the top in that division and are being presented as the best guys in that division, and it's Oscar Rivas, who's arguably a top 15 contender, not even, and Bryant Jennings, who at his best was like 4 years ago, and he's definitely past his prime. So, I mean, this is really why we didn't need this division. I'm pretty sure the WBC made this division for, like, more sanctioning fees and for the money, basically, because, I mean, clearly we didn't need it, and it's basically one of the weakest divisions out there. It's basically like the cruiserweight division, just with a few heavyweights in there. This fight I'm still excited for. It's still a decent fight. It's basically basically a heavyweight rematch, because keeping that title aside that they're fighting for, it's just basically another heavyweight scrap. Because I believe on fight night, they might just blow up back to their original weight. Like Rivas, I'm not too sure how his weight cutting has been recently to get down to bridgerweight. But, yeah, he's definitely always a massive muscle that weight 240. So, it's, as I said before, it's pretty odd that he's at bridgerweight. But just speaking of who they're going to fight next, I think that the winner of this fight is going to be fighting Kevin Lorena, who's a cruiserweight, top cruiserweight, in fact. But, I mean, I would be very intrigued to see that fight happen. I think it'd be a good fight, and I'm not really too sure who will win it, but I'm pretty sure all these heavyweights are going to be beating these cruiserweights 100%. Like Oscar Rivas, I think he's definitely the best in this division by a pretty small margin, because Bryant Jennings came very close in their first outing. So these are definitely the two best guys there, and that doesn't really show a lot, as I said before, because both of these guys, Oscar Rivas is arguably top 15 heavyweight contender, and Bryant Jennings is way past his prime. So overall, Oscar Rivas now being scheduled to fight Bryant Jennings in a rematch for the vacant WBC Bridgerweight World title in June of 2021, in what is supposed to be a very good, decent, evenly matched heavyweight clash. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.